Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Hey Sunshine. And today I'm so excited because I'm joined by my best friend, Anthea Cesaro. And Anthea is a women's life coach, a nutritionist, a psychotherapist in the making, a healer, a mentor, a speaker. I don't know what this woman doesn't do because she does it all. And her mission in this lifetime is to help women step into high self-worth, feel confident in themselves, and call in the love they deserve. And today we're going to be diving into all things self-worth, love, dating, calling in your dream partner, and so much more juice. And Anthea, without further ado, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here. And I said to Shani in private that Hey Sunshine is literally encapsulates Shani Tim. So very grateful to be here and have this chat with
Oh, it's so good to have you here.
you.
And we did a little drop in and Medi before this recording, and really the intention was I want this podcast to be an expansive episode for anyone who's maybe in the dating scene and looking for love, but feeling like there's no hope or feeling like they're at a dead end. And just to hear your story and hear how far you've come and really just embodying self-worth has just been the cornerstone for you really stepping in and calling this conscious partnership in. So I do want to start off, and we both spoke about this before we jumped on, but like the story of Anthea and I meeting is just like downright hilarious. So I had, I'm going to say an estranged friend reach out, and he was like, you and Anthea need to connect. You guys are so aligned. I'm like, who the hell is Anthea? Anyway, checked out your page. I was like, who is this goddess? Like, if you're not following Anthea, she is literally a goddess in human form. And anyway, so I was like literally like nervous, like behind my Instagram DM, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna slide in and I'm just gonna like open up the chat. And pretty much that started off, I think we've been friends for like 2 years now. You were living in
Coming
Sydney.
on to it for
Yeah.
sure.
And I was in Melbourne, and I remember we would just like back and forth voice message all the time when we were living in separate states. And I said to you one time, I was like, oh my God, I'm moving to Byron. And you're like, what the fuck? I'm moving to Byron too. So it's just the like our relationship and friendship is kismet, and the stars aligned. And here we are today, both living our dream lives in Byron with our dream men. It's perfect.
I know it's such a crazy journey to reflect on, and we'll touch on it in the app. But yeah, when I met you, we were really like stepping into worth in love. And I remember us both going, I just can't find anyone I like, but who's also good for me. And, you know, I'm really unhappy. You were living in Melbourne. I was living in Sydney, just living in the city. We felt quite down, and we just wanted to create our dream life in Byron. And it's so beautiful to look back upon that and just see how far we've come. Like, we're both living in Byron, as you said. We're both in beautiful relationships, and we're just living our best lives,
Oh,
which it's
seriously.
a journey, but we're here.
And I do want to reiterate, it's been a fucking journey. Like, we have been through a lot, and like we'll have so many laughs today just like talking about your story. And like I feel like our stories have been quite similar of how we came into love, and like even our experiences in the dating sort of scene. So before we dive into that though, I want to talk about magic and like what magic means to you. I just love opening up with this question.
So magic to me is when life feels, my favorite word, cinematic. So it's when life just feels aligned like a movie. It's sparkly, it's effortless, it's being able to notice and receive magic in the form of a rainbow, you know, the sun after the rain, kissing your person and just feeling so freaking grateful. It's uncontrollable laughter, it's sunsets, it's just the little moments that remind you of what life's about, and make life worth living. That's what magic is to me.
That is so powerful. So good. And I'm picturing you, Anthea's just taken up fishing. And if you can see the juxtaposition of Anth, you know, in her glam sense, and then taking fishing with her partner. But I imagine like all those special moments with your partner, like that is magic to you and in life in general as well.
Totally.
So I feel like for people to really resonate with your story and your journey, like I always love hearing about like your human design and your profile and your star sign, just for anyone who really needs this to kind of get a grasp on your story and your journey.
Totally. So in terms of astrology, I'm an Aries sun and moon and a Virgo rising, but I've also got my Mars and Mercury in Pisces. So people often meet me and they go, you don't feel like an Aries. You're happy and warm and nurturing. It's because I feel I've got my Mars and my communication in Pisces, which kind of makes me feel warmer than potentially, I would if I was just full on Aries, but definitely have that Aries passion and zest for life and playfulness. In terms of my human design, I'm a generator and I'm a 3-6 profile. And we were laughing because the other day, Shani and I had dinner with a mutual beautiful friend who's also been on this podcast, Kat, and our friend Sage. And we were going around the table going, if each and every one of us was a Harry Potter character according to our human design profile, what would we be? And I think Shani was Harry Potter. The other girls were Hermione.
Yeah.
I was the Weasley twins, like both the Weasley twins.
Oh my God,
and
we lost it.
Because, I lost it. I was like, trust. It's because apparently I'm learning with my 3-6 profile, essentially before I reach 30, I'm 26 now. My life essentially is trial and error. Like I just throw myself into life. I feel it all. I do it all. I've got insane courage. I taste all the experiences, but I often, quote unquote, fail, get hurt, and have to just reach rock bottom to pick myself back up again.
Yeah.
It apparently eases when I'm 30, and then
apparently, hopefully,
when I'm 50. But yeah, so that's my kind of journey, and I feel like it's such a gift because it's given me the gift of laughter. I don't take life too seriously. And also I love being able to just have insane empathy through all the shit I've been through.
Far out. And I love that you said a quote that you live by is you fall down 8, you get up 9. And literally I have seen that time and time again with you. And throughout your journey and the couple of years that I've known you, it's like nothing gets you down. You just get back on the horse and you're like, awesome, I've learned another lesson, or I can have a laugh about that. And I just think that's so powerful. And even in the work you do, you help women not take things too seriously and have a laugh at, things that maybe quote unquote fail, because it's actually a redirection onto your right path. So with all that said, I want to talk about your journey. Like you've literally done a myriad of things, but talk us through like how it all started and also if I call her Little Ant, that's her street name. So it might
start because me and Shani both sign off with Big Love, which is apparently really dorky. And so we started with Big Ant, but I didn't like that.
We moved to Little Ant. It's much more aligned.
More feminine. So it was so funny. You asked, with podcasts, I always know I'm going to have to explain my story. But as you said, my whole life, it's just been this rich experience of me doing 100 things. But in essence, I feel as though my whole life up until this point has been one big self-love journey. It started with me being born with a nut allergy, which in primary school, I was made to often sit by myself and have my lunch alone. And I always felt really different. I didn't have community. And in high school, one of my core experiences was my frenemy at the time grabbed me by the hand and showed me to every guy in my year and asked if any of them thought I was pretty. And every single one of them looked me up and down and said, no, sorry, no, I don't. And so fast forward to, I would say, end of high school, me feeling as though I just never really fit in, and having a string of really quite traumatic experiences, some beautiful, some really full on in terms of slut shaming and things like that, whole other story. I got into acting and modeling because I started to get into health and I lost some weight. So throughout my high school journey, I gained a bit of weight. I never really felt beautiful in that sense. When I finished high school, I lost a bit of weight and I was praised by guys liking me, and I got my dream acting agent and I got my dream modeling agent. And I thought life was going really well. I didn't realize that at the same time, I had associated beauty and thinness with worth and love and connection and community. So this led me down a path of going to extremes. I lost so much weight. I lost my period. I lost my personality. I had severe social anxiety. I attracted in guys that thought I was beautiful, but they never saw my personality. I felt as though all I had to offer was my appearance. And slowly that led me to a point of extreme unhappiness and low self-worth. Within that, I decided to do my health coaching and yoga teacher training, and I started to learn some tools that helped me. And I had a quote unquote spiritual awakening at my yoga teacher training, and learnt, that I wasn't my thoughts. I learnt in the power of the universe, and I started to treat myself better because I learnt that I create my own reality. And why was I so unhappy when on the surface my life looked shiny? Around this time, I met the first big love of my life, who was from London. I met him through doing my personal training course. Something to know about me is I wear my absolute heart on my sleeve. I'm such a romantic.
Yeah.
And so my journey with him was, I went to London, sort of abandoned my own needs, tried it, didn't work out. We kind of stayed in touch. I was still on my journey, kind of healing my eating disorder. I did all these different qualifications like energy healing, started my degree in nutrition. We met up again in Paris, and he was saying to me things like, "You're the love of my life. I want to marry you. You're amazing, blah, blah, blah." And so for me, being a romantic, I was like, oh, I've got to move to Paris. I've got to try London again. So I went to Paris, and we had an apartment rented for 6 weeks, which I paid for off the back of a big modeling job that I did. And 2 days in, he arrived. It was really off. And 2 days in, he left. And so it ended up being me being by myself for 6 weeks in Paris. And that was my first big heartbreak. I remember wailing, vomiting, just feeling so incredibly sick because I just felt so heartbroken and so disappointed.
And you thought he was your person as well. Like, it's really hard when it's like you start to build a life in your mind with this person, and then they go, and you're like, what the hell? This is not how I planned it.
Totally, 100%. And everything that kind of I thought was going to happen was we were going to kind of build our life together and have this big kind of beautiful magical ending. But I realized that in Paris, I had completely abandoned myself and my own needs for this person. And once he left, I had a choice. I could either sit in the apartment or go home back to Sydney, cry and be heartbroken, or I could embrace Paris for what it was. So I really felt like I started to learn self-love in Paris. I would walk the streets. I would dress up for myself. I would buy myself flowers. I'd take myself to art galleries. I'd take my journal out to a cafe and write my feelings out. And for the first time in my life, I said to myself, Anthea, what do you want? What would make you happy? Not what your agent wants, not what you think guys want of you, not what, what do you want? And I realized that I really wanted to focus on helping women with self-love. So I fast forward a little bit. I became qualified as a nutritionist, did more qualifications, which is its own story in itself. And then I met my second big love 5-ish years ago now. And that was such a karmic relationship for me. And it had many glimpses of things that I really wanted, but also it was a tough 4 years in the sense of it really did test me in my newfound realization of self-love and self-worth in relationships. Throughout the past 5 or so years, I've worked as a women's coach. I've done one-to-ones, retreats, events, programs, many, many different things. And last year, mid-year, I eventually met up with this person who I thought I was going to be with. The plan was for him to come to Byron and for me to move to America.
And you were doing long distance before this, weren't you? It was almost a year of long distance. Yeah.
Almost a year of long distance. And we were exclusive, or on my end we're exclusive.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, fresh off the back of everything I've kind of learned, middle of last year he came out. There was many beautiful things, and it was such a blessing for me, that relationship, because it was incredible at many points, and I don't have anything bad to say about him. But what was still missing was this theme of fully being chosen for myself, and for me honoring my own needs. And that was, again, sort of being abandoned in that relationship. But as we'll talk in, through the rest of the podcast, that again was a pivotal moment for me, the breakup of that relationship. And then from that place, I then called in my soulmate.
It's amazing.
Really led me down the path of now me wanting to focus more so on helping women, as you said at the start of the episode, with stepping into self-worth and feeling confident in themselves, and from that place calling in the love that they deserve.
And what you and I learn, Anth, is really self-worth is the cornerstone of everything. It's the cornerstone of manifesting, whether it's your partner, your dream job, anything like that. And I think as women, it's like we can err towards this side of being the people pleaser and making sure everyone else is all right around us and really putting our needs last. But what I love about your journey is you've really just been like, okay, cool, I know what I want. I'm not settling. I'm literally stepping into higher self-worth, and I'm waiting for that person to come through that is everything that I have on my list and more, which is just incredible to just watch you step into that. And I want to talk about like patterns for you in dating. Like, was this sort of thing a regular pattern for you? Are there any tips sort of for people who feel like they're stuck in a pattern but don't know how to break it?
Yeah. So my pattern for me was I would dated many people, because I'm such a romantic.
Yeah.
And the start would be great. And they'd say things like, oh, I've never met anyone like you before. You're amazing. I've never felt so seen and heard and listened to. Oh, you're wife material. I want to marry you. Making all these grand plans with me, which was amazing for someone like me, because my heart's so open. And I would think, oh, what a love story. This is amazing. This is everything I want. But then maybe a couple weeks in or a couple months in, they'd completely either ghost me, I would be abandoned, quote unquote, or I'd feel abandoned, or they would just go ice cold and go, oh, I'm not ready for this. Sorry. See ya. And so it really my pattern that I've had to work on was this feeling of distrust with men, and this feeling like they're all just going to leave me and I'm never good enough. I really felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like, was I too intense? Was something wrong with me? Yeah. And as a result of that, as you often talk about, Shani, I became the quote unquote cool girl. So I tried to be the girl that, it's all right if you don't want to commit to me. It's fine if we don't want to label anything. And I really started to abandon my own self and desires and needs of wanting to feel safe and secure with men. What I did to heal that was, I noticed that this was happening again, my last relationship before kind of on and off year one, last year before I met my current partner. And I knew that this was playing out again, this cycle of me having to abandon my needs to be with someone or be the cool girl to kind of maintain the relationship and keep them happy. And so I said to myself, I don't care if I'm single forever. I just need to be alone until I find someone who can meet me there and not make me feel as though I have to abandon my own needs to appease the relationship. And so for me, it was the hardest thing I've ever done last year. I ended the relationship with that person. And I said to myself, I am going to be chosen. I'm going to feel safe and secure. And I am not going to abandon what I want in life or feel as though I'm the one having to compromise in a relationship. And I'm going to wait until someone incredible comes along that makes me feel how I deserve and treats me how I deserve. And it's an equal partnership. So for anyone struggling with a cycle, cut it, stop dating or quote unquote trying to date, get off the apps and just spend time with yourself and open yourself to friendship with people. I feel as though the best relationships are often built on friendship. So really just cut the cord, stop what you're doing, spend time with yourself, up your worth, up your self-love, get really clear on what it is you want, and don't settle until you feel how you want to feel in a relationship.
It is so powerful. And I think sometimes we fall into this trap of like when we're with someone else, and especially if you're recovering from codependency patterns, you're like, okay, cool, like I've got to do this, or I've got to make myself a bit smaller so they can play into their bigness. And like when we spend time alone, and I found this when I had, I think it was about 3.5 years of just being by myself, I'm like, oh my God, I have time to think about what I want. And, you know, maybe I don't want to live like that, or I don't want a relationship like that. So giving yourself time, especially if you need a partner to feel safe or secure, it's like, how can you bring that safety and security to yourself? How can you give that love to yourself? And I love before how you spoke about dating yourself, and you do this better than anyone I know. You don't need someone, like, yes, it's beautiful, you know, when your partner takes you out on beautiful dates, but it's like you're happy to love yourself and take yourself out for brunches and dates and massages and really just like up the self-love. And I think when our cup is full, we can step into that partnership and it be an equal partnership rather than you're over giving to compensate for the lack that they're giving. Or perhaps some people get in this trap of dating potential. They think, oh, maybe one day they'll step into this, or maybe one day, you know, they'll give me the love that I feel like they deserve. So I think those takeaways and tips are so powerful. And just for anyone like who's listening, like, what's your attachment style, and how, I know that was obviously triggered a lot in that relationship last year. How did that sort of look when you were stepping into this more secure partnership?
Yeah, so everything you said exactly spot on. And what I want to add is, for anyone who is calling in a partner or is in a relationship, or anyone really, it's so important you learn your attachment style, which is formed from the age of 0 to 7-ish. And it's what you sort of learn from your parents, and how you respond to love, and what your attachment style to love is. So for me, mine was definitely anxious avoidant. So I was a mix of, get away from me, I'm independent, I don't need anyone, I'm going to shut myself off, like fuck them. And then the other side of me was, I'm so anxious, they're about to dump me, they're talking to other people. So I really did not have any sort of level of security. And I had a really beautiful family growing up. My parents did go through a divorce, and I've done a lot of work on that. And I think it's utterly essential that we all empower ourselves as to what our attachment style is. And what's great about attachment styles is you can be more anxious, you can be more avoidant, you can be fearful avoidant, which is kind of a amalgam of both of them, which is what I was.
That's what I was too. It's crazy.
Yeah. You can work towards being a more secure attachment style. And that comes down to self-worth. It comes down to doing the inner child work and healing. It comes down to filling your life with expansive, healthy, positive relationships that show you what a healthy partnership is. And it's also, as you were saying before, getting really comfortable and secure in your own self. And from that place going, a relationship's not going to complete my life. It's simply going to add to the beautiful life I've created for myself. And this is my teammate.
Yeah.
You know, my world doesn't revolve around them. It's just my partner in this lifetime. I'm whole with or without that person. And doing things like self-soothing, doing things like making sure in a relationship you also have strong friendships, and, you know, you're doing things for yourself, and your whole world doesn't revolve around that other person.
And for when I was dating, I sort of fell into that trap of like, you know, putting everything into this one relationship and letting friendships slide. And like, I think when we are recovering from anxious avoidant attachment styles or codependency, that is the thing that can happen, because we are so craving that connection or the affection or something really to heal this childhood wound that is sort of like simmering below the surface. So for anyone who's listening who wants to sort of look into attachment styles anymore, there's an amazing book called Attached, which I just think everyone should read. Also, Mark Grove's podcast, he's got incredible stuff on attachment styles. But yeah, I think really just getting clear on what your attachment style is, how does that play up in your dating and relationships, and how can you actually help self-soothe. And even for both of us, I think stepping into a secure partnership where our wounds, our core wounds, aren't being triggered as much, and we actually have a chance to rebuild our trust with the masculine, which is just so important. And as I said, whenever I mention feminine and masculine energies, it's not gender, it's just an energy that represents those. So just to make that clear. So Ev, you and I love manifesting. Like, we both did Lacey Phillips' course. I think when we first met, we were both randomly doing it, and it's incredible. But I want to talk about when you were in this stage of dating yourself and you'd just broken up, with your partner last year, and what did manifesting your dream partnership look like?
Yeah. So the most powerful thing that I did was when the last relationship ended, I really felt as though for the first time in my life, I decided to choose myself, no matter what that looked like. And what I did was I got really clear in the preceding weeks after the breakup as to what I actually wanted to feel in my next relationship, how I wanted to feel, how I wanted to be treated, the qualities that my next man would embody. I got really, really freaking clear. I wrote a list in my journal of just everything that I wanted in my next partner. And, physical things are great, but I think the focus really should be on how you want to feel with that person. And so I made a promise to myself in my last breakup. It was incredibly painful, but every day after the breakup, I would sit in a meditation, I would cry, I would scream, I would yell, I would release whatever emotion needed to come out. But I made a vow that I would not let that person make me bitter or make me think I was not worthy of love, or that I would not find the love that I deserved. So I thanked him. I thanked him for all the beautiful lessons that he showed me. I thanked him for showing me what I didn't want in someone, but also what I did. And I would sit there and I would feel everything. And instead of becoming bitter and resentful towards men, I let the pain crack my heart open. So I would almost visualize my heart reopening, as painful as it was. And I would focus on the love for myself, and I would focus on feeling into the energy of this person I was going to call in. And then I would do things, as you know I do well, like buy myself flowers or take myself to lunch or take myself on a walk. And I would start to tap into this person's energy. And the energy that I really wanted was someone who was safe and secure, but also like a best friend, funny teammate energy, and someone who I just felt so safe with, so happy with, so seen and heard by, playful energy, just someone I could do things in life with, and it just felt good and it just felt easy and effortless. And so I wrote my list. I started to, imagine his energy in my life. I continued to open my heart. I continued to feel it all. I owned the parts of myself that I needed to work on and do the work myself on, such as more inner child healing, more attachment work healing, more rewriting of the stories I would tell myself that kept my self-worth low. I focused on where I had abandoned myself in my life, and really just decided in this next relationship, I was not going to have to choose myself or this person. It would just all flow. And so through that, I found my person. Who would have thought?
I know.
But it was just the most effortless process. We were friends prior. It's a whole different story, but we were friends prior. So
that's another podcast.
It's another podcast in itself. So he had already been such a beautiful support to me, and he had already seen all sides of me. We would just laugh, we'd do things together, and it just developed from there. It was like as soon as I fully chose myself and he went on his own journey and had to choose himself in his own way, it's like we both came together and were like, this is what I want. Like, it just all makes sense. And then from that point, we've just built the most beautiful, strong, incredible relationship together. And I've never felt more myself and just more safe and secure and everything that I wanted. He weirdly ticked literally everything off the list.
So good.
And it was so funny, Shans, because I remember we went to the beach one day, me and you, and I remember telling you about him and going, oh, you know, I don't know, we've been friends, it's a funny situation, but yeah, it just felt so right, down to the fact that we both had a nut allergy. We both, you know,
that's my favorite thing about you guys.
like,
It's literally, it's
weird.
pistachios, macadamias, and cashews. Is that right? You both have that, which is like I don't know any other sign of a soulmate than that. Like, it's perfect.
That was one of the things we first bonded over. I was like, for the first time in my life, someone can relate to the struggle of having a nut allergy. Like, weird things, like just so aligned. And
I want to say as well, your names are an anagram of each other. Like and you don't know an anagram, it's like the letters are jumbled up and they contain the same amount of letters. And I just like, it's the whole relationship for you is kismet, just like how it unfolded, the similarities. And like what I really love is like you built the friendship first, and that was the foundation piece. And as you said, you like, he's seen you sobbing, crying, no makeup, like, you know, in just like your most vulnerable of states, and he's loved you for that, and he's loved you at your best. So I just think it's so beautiful. And I think for anyone who's listening, like, let this story be an expander for you in terms of Lacey Phillip. It's a partnership that can expand your mind to what is possible. And if you're sitting here feeling like you're settling in a relationship, feeling like you haven't put yourself first, like, there is still hope. Like, you always have a choice every single moment, day, second, to choose yourself, to love yourself, and to not settle, and put the vision of the dream relationship first. So I just think your whole story is so powerful. So to close up this podcast, I really want to just chat to you about like the one thing that changed your life. I know we spoke about like dating yourself and putting yourself first, but what would that thing be for anyone who's listening?
I think my thing for me that really changed my life, and it's what I teach now, it's realizing what self-worth actually was. I think in life, especially as women, we go through it without realizing how much we take upon being the people pleaser, the nice girl, the cool girl, the girl that doesn't want to take up too much space, the girl that potentially was bullied in high school, so she keeps herself small and doesn't live up to her potential, the girl who kind of just coasts along in every area, not feeling fully seen or heard, not feeling as though she's living up to her potential out of fear of what others might think of her. And for me, my whole life has been a big lesson of you know, showing me that in every area of my life I always have a choice. And especially in love, you always have a choice. If you're in a relationship where you don't feel happy in, you can always leave. If you're in a job that you're not happy in, you can leave. If you're in any situation in your life, as hard as it may be, you always have a choice and another offer, another option. And so I would say my biggest lesson, and what I'm really intent on teaching women,
I can't hear you. I've lost you. Hold on. I can't hear you. That's so weird.
Hello?
Oh, yeah. Okay, now you're back. I'll get them to cut that out. Sorry.
Yeah.
So where were you?
So just always choose self, like your self-worth.
Yeah.
So my biggest lesson in life is self-worth and choosing myself in all areas. And what I'm really intent on teaching women is that no matter what situation you're in, there's always another choice. And whether it's a relationship, a job, a friendship, you have the power to not settle in that, get really clear on what it is you desire and how you want to feel, and choose again. You know, you're never ever stuck, especially in relationships. And I think through all of mine, I've really learnt how I don't want to feel, but how I do want to feel. And my relationship now, it's just the most effortless thing. He's my teammate. It's fun, it's playful, it's deep, it's potent, it's us dreaming of our shared vision together, it's just doing life together. And I never once feel anxious or unsure of myself, or in this pattern of anxiety or not good enough. And that's just a testament to how amazing he is, but also to myself for choosing me, leaving what wasn't serving me, and sticking to my guns in what I did deserve.
And just a closing thing, it's like when you do step into that self-worth and you leave the relationship that is no longer serving you, or you feel like you're settled, or you leave the job, when you leave, you create space for something so much more magical to come in. And it is that sign of trust to the universe. Like, I trust you. I know what you're doing, and I trust that what's coming through is even more magical than before. So thank you so much, Ant, for sharing your story. And I just want to finish. Is there anything you've got coming up with your business, or how can people connect with you?
Yes, so I have got my Worthy in Love course launching soon, in the next
So
few
good.
months, depending on when this podcast ep is released. But the Worthy in Love course will literally be everything that I've learned in terms of self-worth in myself, self-love, how to date yourself, how to up your worth in all areas, but then also how to attract in your person from that place of self-worth and with confidence, and then have in a relationship self-worth and feel really empowered in your relationship, and build it from a place of love and strong foundations.
That sounds so amazing. And it really is a combination of all of your skill sets, your coaching, your healing, your psychotherapy, like everything sort of like weaving in together, and your life experience as well. So yeah, if you want to check out Anth, I'll definitely tag her in this recording. But Anth, I'm so grateful for you, for your friendship, for your wisdom. And I really know that this episode is going to help a lot of people. So